Chapter 6. Storms on the Horizon. By now, several weeks had passed since Gabriel first arrived in Etheria. Life had settled into a routine. Most mornings began with a visit to the Adventurer Guild. Most afternoons were spent completing quests, helping townspeople, or hunting for food. Most evenings were quiet, simple, peaceful, at least for now. One morning, Gabriel accepted a job helping an elderly merchant transport supplies between warehouses near the harbor. The work wasn't exciting, but it paid fairly. As usual, Gabriel worked hard and treated everyone with respect. Most people appreciated that. Some still didn't. As he carried a large crate across town, several rough-looking men stepped into his path. Their expressions immediately told Gabriel they weren't interested in conversation. One of them smirked. "Look what we have here. A giant mutt carrying boxes." His friends laughed. Gabriel sighed internally. Not this again. "I don't want any trouble." The men continued mocking him, calling him names, questioning why someone like him was allowed inside the town walls. Gabriel simply remained calm. Years of dealing with difficult people back on Earth had taught him something important. Not every insult deserved a response. Eventually, one of the men stepped forward and shoved him. Gabriel barely moved. The man looked surprised. His friends looked nervous. "You think you're better than us?" Gabriel shook his head. "No, I just don't want to fight." Unfortunately, the man swung anyway. Gabriel easily stepped aside. Another punch followed. And another. Each time, Gabriel avoided the attacks without striking back. The crowd gathering nearby watched in amazement. An 8-foot-tall wolfman could have easily flattened the troublemakers. Instead, he continued showing restraint. Finally, town guards arrived. "What is going on here?" Several witnesses immediately explained the situation. Within minutes, the troublemakers were being dragged away. They continued shouting insults and threats the entire time. Gabriel simply waved goodbye. That only seemed to annoy them more. A few days later, a more serious request appeared on the guild board. Reports had been coming in from travelers. Several criminals were attacking people along the northern roads. Merchants were losing supplies. Families were being robbed. A few people had been injured. The reward wasn't especially high. Most experienced adventurers ignored it. The risk wasn't worth the pay. Gabriel accepted immediately. Helping people mattered more to him than money. The search took nearly 2 days. Following tracks through forests and hills, Gabriel eventually discovered the criminals' camp hidden among rocky cliffs. There were 7 of them, armed, dangerous, and completely unaware that they had been found. Gabriel observed them from a distance. Part of him hoped they would surrender peacefully. That hope disappeared when he overheard them discussing their next victims. With a sigh, Gabriel stepped into the camp. The criminals immediately jumped to their feet. Weapons drawn? "Who are you?" Gabriel crossed his arms. "The guy bringing you in." The battle that followed was short. Despite their numbers, none of them could match Gabriel's strength or speed. More importantly, Gabriel was careful. He didn't want to kill anyone if he could avoid it. Within minutes, the criminals were tied up and unable to resist. Several days later, Gabriel marched them back into town. The guards were stunned. The guild was impressed, and the townspeople were grateful. For the first time, Gabriel noticed people looking at him differently. Not with fear, not with suspicion, but with respect. As summer slowly approached, however, a new concern began spreading throughout the town. Whispers, rumors, worry. At first, Gabriel only overheard small pieces of conversation. Then he began hearing the same thing everywhere. The war. The conflict between the human kingdom and the dark elves was growing worse. More troops were moving, more supplies were being gathered, more battles were being reported. Even though this town sat near the coast and far from the front lines, people were nervous. Inns were filled with worried discussions. Merchants spoke quietly about rising prices. Families wondered if their sons would be drafted into military service. One evening, while eating dinner at a tavern, Gabriel listened to a nearby conversation. "I heard 2 border forts were attacked. They say thousands have already died. What if the war reaches us? Surely it won't come that far. But what if it does?" The room fell silent. Nobody wanted to answer Haxu. Later that night, Gabriel walked through the harbor. Moonlight reflected across the ocean. The gentle sound of waves filled the air. The town appeared peaceful. But beneath that peace was fear. The same fear the goddess had shown him on his first day. The same fear that threatened to consume the entire world. Gabriel looked toward the distant horizon. Somewhere beyond it, armies were gathering. Somewhere beyond it, people were preparing for war. And somehow, he had become part of all of this. For now, however, there was little he could do except continue helping those around him. One person, one family, one town at a time. The future remained uncertain. But Gabriel wasn't going to stop trying, no matter how dark the road ahead became. End of Chapter 6. Storms on the Horizon. Number Chapter 7. The Road Forward. The weeks following Gabriel's success against the bandits should have been some of the best since arriving in Etheria. More people knew his name. Merchants respected him. Families trusted him. The guards appreciated his help. Unfortunately, not everyone was happy about his growing reputation, especially some of the wealthiest people in town. Several influential merchants and landowners had never trusted Gabriel. To them, he was still an outsider, a giant black wolf who had appeared from nowhere, someone they couldn't control, someone they didn't fully understand, and that made them uncomfortable. At first, it was only rumors. Small whispers spread through town. Claims that Gabriel was secretly working for criminals. Claims that he was using people to gain influence. Claims that he had hidden motives. Most people ignored them. The stories simply didn't match the Gabriel they knew. The adventurer who helped lost children. The adventurer who protected travelers. The adventurer who risked his life for strangers. Still, rumors have a way of spreading, especially when powerful people are behind them. Then things became worse. Someone planted stolen goods inside a storage shed Gabriel had used during one of his jobs. The wealthy merchants immediately accused him. Town guards investigated. Many citizens defended Gabriel. Several witnesses stepped forward to speak on his behalf. In the end, there wasn't enough evidence to prove anything, but the damage had already been done. Gabriel sat alone in his room that night. Part of him was angry, part of him was hurt. Mostly, he was disappointed. He had worked hard, he had tried to help people, yet there were still those who wanted him gone. After several hours of thinking, Gabriel reached a decision. He would leave. Not because he was guilty. Not because he was afraid, but because he didn't want the town divided because of him. The next morning, he packed his belongings. There wasn't much. A few supplies, his guild card, some saved money, and the memories he had made there. Word spread quickly. Many townspeople came to say goodbye. The family whose child he had rescued thanked him again. Several merchants shook his hand. The guards wished him luck. Even the guild receptionist looked sad. "You helped a lot of people here." Gabriel smiled. "I just did what I thought was right." The receptionist nodded. "That's exactly why people will remember you." Soon, Gabriel passed through the town gates. For a moment, he looked back. The town had been his first home in Etheria. It wasn't perfect, but it had helped him begin his new life. Then he turned around and continued walking. Forward. Just like he always had. Hours passed. The town became smaller and smaller behind him. Eventually, it disappeared completely. Now Gabriel was alone again. The road stretched endlessly ahead. The forests surrounding him seemed larger than ever. By late afternoon, he estimated he was roughly 7 kilometers from town. For the first time in a while, uncertainty settled into his mind. Where should he go? What should he do next? He didn't know. The only answer he had was the same one he always gave himself. Keep moving forward. Then he heard something. A scream. His ears immediately stood upright. Another scream followed. Children. Gabriel's expression hardened. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the sound. The road blurred beneath his feet. Seconds later, he arrived. The sight before him made his blood run cold. Several wagons had been attacked. Children were being forced away from them. Around 10 armed men surrounded the terrified group. The criminals were laughing, treating the situation like a game. One of the children was crying. Another was desperately trying to protect a younger sibling. Gabriel stepped onto the road. Let them go. The criminals turned. Several immediately looked nervous. Others laughed. One of them pointed his sword. "And who's going to make us?" Gabriel's blue eyes narrowed. "I am." The battle was brutal. The criminals had numbers. Gabriel had strength and speed. He did everything he could to stop them without unnecessary violence. Most surrendered once they realized how badly outmatched they were. But not all of them. 3 of the attackers refused to stop, even after repeated warnings, even after being given opportunities to surrender. The fight ended quickly. When it was over, the surviving criminals were bound and unable to continue. The children were safe. That was what mattered most. As the evening approached, Gabriel helped calm the frightened group. Most were exhausted. Several were injured. All of them were terrified. "It's okay," Gabriel told them. "You're safe now." One of the younger children looked up at him. "You really saved us." Gabriel smiled. "I couldn't leave you behind." The group explained they were traveling toward another settlement several days away. Without hesitation, Gabriel offered to escort them. The journey would be dangerous otherwise. For the next several days, he traveled alongside them, protecting them, helping them gather food, making sure they could rest safely. Slowly, the children began smiling again. Slowly, they started feeling safe. One evening, as the group camped beneath the stars, Gabriel stood watch. The wind shifted. His ears twitched. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Far in the distance, beyond the hills and forests, he could sense movement. Not a monster. Not a bandit group. Something larger. Much larger. Gabriel looked toward the horizon. Dark clouds gathered beneath the setting sun, and somewhere beyond them, a new threat was approaching. One that would change everything. End of Chapter 7. The Road Forward. Chapter 8. New Town, Old Fears. The next morning, Gabriel and the group he was protecting prepared to continue their journey. The children were in much better spirits now. Several of them had begun talking and laughing again. The adults looked less worried as well. For the first time since the attack, things felt normal. Gabriel walked near the front of the group, keeping watch on the road ahead. Everything seemed peaceful. Until 3 figures suddenly stepped out from the trees. Everyone stopped. The newcomers wore dark armor and dark-colored cloaks. Their pointed ears immediately revealed who they were. Dark elves. The travelers behind Gabriel immediately became nervous. Several stepped backward. The dark elves looked equally suspicious. One of them rested a hand on the hilt of their sword. What are humans doing this far from their territory? Another stared directly at Gabriel. A wolfman traveling with humans? His tone suggested he didn't trust either side. Gabriel slowly raised his hands. "I don't want to fight." The dark elves didn't lower their weapons. Neither did the humans. Years of hatred sat between them. Hatred that had existed long before any of them were born. "We can just talk," Gabriel said calmly. One of the dark elves laughed. "Talk? Humans don't talk. They lie." The human travelers immediately became angry, and just like that, the situation started getting worse. For several minutes, both sides exchanged insults and accusations. Gabriel tried to calm everyone down. Unfortunately, nobody wanted to listen. One of the dark elves suddenly moved. His blade flashed. One of the travelers barely avoided a fatal strike. That was enough. Gabriel immediately stepped forward. "Stop!" The dark elf attacked him next. The sword sliced across Gabriel's arm. Pain shot through him. A deep cut opened along his forearm. For a moment, everyone froze. Gabriel looked at the wound, then back at the attackers. His expression hardened. He had tried talking. He had tried diplomacy. Now people were in danger. The fight was fast. Gabriel avoided serious injury despite the cut on his arm. Using his superior strength and speed, he quickly disarmed the 3 dark elves. None of them were killed. Instead, Gabriel restrained them. The humans looked shocked. The dark elves looked even more shocked. Most people would have chosen revenge. Gabriel chose restraint. Again, the journey resumed, this time with 3 unwilling dark elf prisoners. Along the road, Gabriel repeatedly tried speaking with them. At first, they ignored him. Then they mocked him. Then they questioned him. Eventually, one of them finally asked, "Why are you protecting humans?" Gabriel shrugged. "They're people." The dark elf frowned. "They're humans." Gabriel looked at him. And the dark elf didn't have an answer. Several days later, the group finally reached the next town. The families Gabriel had protected thanked him repeatedly. The children were especially sad to see him go. One young girl even hugged him before leaving. "Thank you, Mr. Wolf." Gabriel smiled. "Stay safe." Watching them leave made him happy. Helping people still felt worthwhile. After settling into town, Gabriel immediately visited the Adventurer Guild. The building was larger than the one in his previous town. The quest board was packed with requests. Most were simple. Then one stood out. A dangerous monster extermination mission. The reward was high. The risk was even higher. 10 black tigers had been attacking travelers and merchants. Several adventurers had refused the quest. Others considered it too dangerous. Gabriel accepted it without hesitation. The receptionist looked surprised. Are you sure? Gabriel nodded. I'll do my best. The mission took 2 full days. The black tigers were powerful predators. Fast, strong, and extremely aggressive. Each battle tested Gabriel's abilities. By the time he defeated the 10th tiger, he was exhausted. His armor was damaged. His body was covered in scratches and bruises. But he had succeeded. When he returned to town, the guild was stunned. The quest that nobody wanted was complete. The reward was immediately handed over. Reward received 14 silver coins, rank advancement achieved. Gabriel couldn't help smiling. This was his first major accomplishment since arriving in Etheria. He was becoming stronger. Little by little, step by step. Finding a place to stay proved more difficult. Many inns refused him. Some owners were polite, others were not. His appearance still caused problems. Eventually, he found a small room above a baker's shop. It wasn't perfect. The bed creaked. The room was small. The roof leaked when it rained. But it was affordable, and it was his. That night, Gabriel sat beside the window looking out over the town. People still stared at him. Many still didn't trust him. Some probably never would. But he wasn't going to let that stop him. The world was bigger than one town, bigger than one race, bigger than old hatred. As he looked toward the stars, he thought about the dark elves he had met, the humans he had helped, the fear that existed on both sides. Something was wrong with this world, very wrong, and somehow he felt like he was beginning to see it. End of Chapter 8 on New Town, Old Fears. Chapter 9. Flames on the Horizon. Several weeks had passed since Gabriel arrived in the new town. Life had become somewhat stable. Not easy, not perfect, but stable. He had a roof over his head, food to eat, work through the Adventurer Guild, and most importantly, a purpose. Every day he tried to help where he could. Some people still didn't trust him because he was a wolf man. Others respected him because of the jobs he completed. Either way, Gabriel focused on what mattered: actions, not opinions. One morning, Gabriel entered the Adventurer Guild shortly after sunrise. The guild hall buzzed with activity. Adventurers talked loudly about quests. Merchants negotiated contracts. The smell of breakfast drifted from the tavern section of the building. As Gabriel approached the quest board, he noticed something immediately. Because of his recent rank advancement, many new requests were now available. More dangerous jobs, better rewards, greater responsibility. The receptionist smiled as she saw him. Looking for something challenging today? Gabriel chuckled. Maybe not too challenging. After browsing for several minutes, he selected a request involving a series of monster sightings several hours outside town. Nothing too dangerous, at least according to the report. The journey took most of the morning. The farther Gabriel traveled from town, the quieter the world became. Towering trees stretched high into the sky. Birds sang from the branches. A cool breeze carried the scent of pine and wildflowers. For a while, everything felt peaceful, almost relaxing. Then his ears twitched. Movement. Not one person. Several. Gabriel immediately became alert. The forest suddenly felt much quieter. Too quiet. Slowly, 7 figures emerged from the trees. All of them were wolf people. Large, powerful, armed, warriors. Their fur varied in color from gray to brown to black. Several carried swords while others carried spears. Their eyes locked onto Gabriel immediately. Shock spread across their faces. One of them stepped forward. "What are you doing here?" Gabriel remained calm. "I'm working." The warriors exchanged confused looks. One of them frowned. "Working for humans?" Gabriel nodded. "Among other things." The group seemed even more confused. A female wolf warrior stepped forward. Her silver-gray fur shined beneath the sunlight. A long scar crossed one side of her arm. Her blue eyes carefully studied Gabriel. She looked uncomfortable, suspicious, cautious. "What's your name?" she asked. "Gabriel." She nodded. "I'm Luna Fang." Gabriel immediately noticed she was probably one of the strongest among them, not because of her size, because of the way the others respected her. For the next half hour, they talked. The wolf warriors asked many questions. Where he came from, why he lived among humans, why he worked for adventurers, why he helped towns that didn't fully trust him. Gabriel answered most of them honestly, though he kept one secret. He never mentioned Earth. He never mentioned being transported from another world. Nobody would believe him anyway. Luna folded her arms. You trust humans too much. Gabriel shook his head. No, I trust individuals. The answer surprised her. It surprised several of the others as well. Gabriel continued. Some humans are good. Some are terrible. The same goes for wolf people. The same goes for everyone. Nobody immediately argued, because deep down, they knew he wasn't wrong. Eventually, the conversation turned more serious. Gabriel looked directly at the warriors. If you're planning to attack the town, don't. The atmosphere immediately changed. Several warriors narrowed their eyes. Luna stared at him. Is that a threat? Gabriel shook his head. No, it's a promise. The forest became silent. If innocent people get hurt, I'll stop it. His voice remained calm, but there was no hesitation behind his words. For several long moments, nobody spoke. Then Luna slowly nodded. You really mean that? I do. For the first time, a small amount of respect appeared in her eyes. After saying their goodbyes, the warriors disappeared back into the forest. Soon, Gabriel was alone once more. He completed his quest and began the long walk back to town. The entire journey home left him thinking. Meeting other wolf people should have made him feel more comfortable. Instead, it reminded him how divided this world truly was. Every race seemed to expect conflict. Every race expected enemies. Nobody expected understanding. By evening, Gabriel returned to town. The guild rewarded him for completing the request. The payment wasn't huge, but every coin mattered. Especially because Gabriel had begun thinking about something new. A home. Not just a room, not just a temporary place to sleep. A real home. Somewhere he could belong. Somewhere he could build a future. It would take time. And money. But the idea made him smile. The sun had nearly set when everything changed. Gabriel was eating dinner in a small tavern when shouting erupted outside. People began running, tables overturned. Fear spread through the streets. Gabriel immediately stood. What happened? A frightened guard burst through the tavern doors. The forest! Something's burning! Gabriel rushed outside. The sight made his stomach drop. Far beyond the town walls, massive flames rose into the sky. Entire sections of forest were burning. Dark smoke covered the horizon. Then his ears caught something else. Marching. Hundreds of footsteps. Maybe thousands. The sound was growing louder. Much louder. The town guards quickly climbed the walls. Citizens gathered in panic. Merchants hurried to secure their property. Families rushed indoors. Gabriel sprinted toward the northern gate. When he reached the walls, he looked toward the distant forest and saw them. An army. Rows upon rows of beast soldiers marching toward the town. Armor glinted beneath the firelight. Banners waved in the wind. Weapons reflected the glow of the burning forest behind them. Gabriel's heart began pounding. This wasn't a raid. This wasn't a bandit attack. This was an army. And it was heading straight for the town. The guards looked terrified. The citizens looked hopeless. Gabriel stared at the approaching force, then clenched his fists. Whatever happened next. He couldn't run. He couldn't abandon these people. Not after everything. The flames burned brighter. The army continued marching. And the first true battle of Gabriel's new life was about to begin. End of Chapter 9. Flames on the Horizon. Number Chapter 10. The Wolf Who Stood Alone. The entire town was in chaos. Alarm bells rang from the watchtowers. Citizens rushed through the streets carrying supplies and children. Merchants hurriedly boarded up windows. Guards raced toward the walls. Fear hung over the town like a dark cloud. Gabriel stood atop the northern wall, staring toward the approaching army. The burning forest behind them painted the night sky orange and red. Thousands of armored beastkin soldiers marched forward. The ground trembled beneath their footsteps. For many people watching from the walls, the battle already felt lost. Gabriel looked around. He saw terrified children clinging to their parents. He saw elderly citizens praying. He saw young guards trying to hide their fear. And in that moment, he made his decision. Without another word, Gabriel climbed onto the edge of the wall. Several guards stared at him. "What are you doing?" Gabriel simply smiled. "Buying time." Then he jumped. The crowd gasped. His massive body crashed into the ground outside the town walls. Dust exploded into the air. When the dust cleared, Gabriel slowly stood and began walking toward the army. Alone. The soldiers noticed him immediately. Their marching gradually slowed, then stopped. Thousands of eyes watched the lone black wolf walking toward them. Eventually, a path opened through their ranks. A familiar figure stepped forward. Luna Fang. The same wolf warrior he had met in the forest. Her silver gray fur reflected the firelight. Her expression was serious, not angry, not surprised, just tired. You. Gabriel stopped several meters away. Me. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Luna sighed. I had hoped we wouldn't meet like this. Gabriel nodded. So did I. The two spoke while the armies waited. Luna explained that many beastkin settlements near the border had suffered attacks. Villages had burned. Families had died. Resources had been stolen. Whether all the stories were true or not hardly mattered anymore. The anger had grown too large. Now many beastkin wanted revenge. Gabriel listened carefully. He understood their pain. But he also understood what would happen if they attacked the town behind him. More families would suffer. More innocent people would die. More hatred would grow. Eventually, Gabriel took a step forward. His voice carried across the battlefield. I understand your anger. The soldiers listened. I understand what was taken from you. More silence followed. Then Gabriel pointed toward the town. But if any of you step onto that land, his eyes hardened. There are no promises about what happens next. The atmosphere immediately changed. Even the wind seemed to stop. Gabriel continued. Just because we are the same kind doesn't mean I will stand aside. He pointed toward the army. If you attack innocent people, I will stop you. His voice echoed across the battlefield. So turn around. Go home. Don't do this. For several moments, nobody moved. Then one soldier charged. Another followed. Then several more. The battle began. Gabriel did everything he could not to kill anyone. His fists struck like hammers. His speed made him almost impossible to surround. The first soldier flew backward after a powerful punch. A second lost his weapon. A third crashed into the dirt. One after another they came. One after another they fell. Within minutes, 12 soldiers were unable to continue fighting, bruised, exhausted, defeated, but alive. Then Luna stepped forward. The soldiers immediately backed away. They knew what was coming. So did Gabriel. Luna drew her sword. Gabriel lowered his stance. Neither wanted this, but neither would back down. The clash shook the battlefield. Luna was far stronger than most soldiers. Her speed surprised Gabriel. Her blade struck his arm, then his shoulder, then his side. Pain shot through his body. Blood stained his fur, but Gabriel endured. The fight continued for several minutes. Each exchange tested them both. Eventually, Gabriel saw an opening. He moved forward. His shoulder slammed into Luna's guard. His fist struck her armor. The impact launched her backward. She crashed into the ground and rolled several times before stopping. The battlefield fell silent. Luna slowly tried to stand, but couldn't. The fight was over. The battle continued around them. More soldiers charged. More soldiers fell. 20, 30, 40. Gabriel's body became covered in cuts and bruises. His muscles screamed in protest. Blood dripped from multiple wounds. Yet he refused to move. He remained standing between the army and the town. Like a wall. Like a guardian. Like a shield. Eventually he raised his voice. I can do this all night if I have to. The soldiers hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty appeared among their ranks. Hours seemed to pass. The battlefield became littered with exhausted warriors. By the time 100 soldiers had been defeated, Gabriel's body carried 10 separate cuts. Each wound burned. Each movement hurt. But his determination never wavered. He remained standing, ready for more. The army, however, had begun to lose its confidence. This wasn't what they expected. One warrior standing alone had stopped an entire advance. Finally, Luna rose again. Supported by 2 soldiers, she walked forward. Her breathing was heavy. Her armor was damaged. She looked directly at Gabriel, and for the first time there was no hostility in her eyes. Only understanding. Gabriel looked at her, then at the army behind her. I know what was taken from you. His voice was quieter now. I know you're hurting. The soldiers listened. But more bloodshed won't make it better. The battlefield became silent. No child buried today will bring back the ones you lost. No family destroyed here will heal your pain. Luna lowered her head. Gabriel continued. If you truly want a better future, he looked directly at her, then next time we talk. Not fight. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then slowly, Luna nodded. The army began retreating. one soldier at a time, one step at a time. The battle was over. For now. As the beastkin disappeared into the darkness, Gabriel finally allowed himself to breathe. Behind him, the town still stood, and for one more safe. End of chapter 10. The wolf who stood alone.